This video covers notes 8.3 over linear regressions applications. So for problem 1, we have the following data chart shows the world record times for the 200-meter race for flying start machines, a kind of bicycle. So we have a year and a record time set. They ask us to make a scatter plot of the data, and the points above with a check have already been plotted. So they have left us 1 point that we need to plot. So to plot this, I'm going to go to the year 1992, which is going to be about here-ish, and 6.5, so I'm going to go to right there and plot my point. Now, part B asked me to find the regression line for the data using years since 1900 for X and record time in seconds for Y. So I'm going to go to Stat Edit. I'm going to clear out anything in my list. And I'm going to put in the years. So 1974, 1975, 1976, 77, 79, 85, 86, and 92. And then the times 10.4, 10.0, 9.4, 9.1, 8.8, 7.2, 6.8, and 6.5. So I've put these into Stat Edit. From here, I'm going to go Stat Calc 4. Where it says Store Regression, I am going to put this into Y1. So I'm going to click Variables, Y Variables, Function Y1, so that it will store my equation into Y1. And then I will click Enter for Calculate. So for my equation, it's a very ugly equation. I have Y equals negative 0.226x plus 455.162 for my y's. Then they ask, why is the slope negative? Well, as the runners increase their speed, then the time needed to run would decrease. So as the runners increase, the speed would decrease. And then part D, they are asking me to use the equation of the line to make a prediction of what the world record would be in the year 2000. So if I go to Y equals, here is that really ugly, nasty equation that is not the rounded one that I did, and I've hardly had to type anything, in Y1. So that ugly thing is typed in Y1. I'm going to go to my table, and I'm going to turn on Table Ask. So I've already stored the equation. I'm going to turn on Table Set. Remember, we turn our independent to Ask. I'm going to go back to the table and type in the year 2000. And my Y is 4.127 seconds because Y is referring to seconds. So lots of calculator steps going on here. You need to make sure that you are really paying attention and processing these things and writing these steps down as needed. So for part 2, they ask us to write the prediction equation and solve the problem. So real quick, I need you to fix this, please. This needs to be an X value. I'm sorry about that. So 2, a student who waits on tables at a restaurant recorded the cost of meals and the tip left by single diner. So we have meal costs and tip. If the next diner orders a meal costing $10.50, how much tip should the waiter expect to receive? So I'm going to go back to Stat Edit because these are pretty extensive lists. I'm going to go ahead and clear them out. My meals go in L1, and I need to be very careful that I am typing these things in correctly. So I'm going to go Stat Calc 4 like we've been doing. Remember to store your equation. You click Variables, scroll, Enter, Enter to make your equation show up in Y1. And so I have my really ugly equation of 0.16x minus 0.30, because we are talking money. I'm going to go to y equals, and I can see that really ugly, not rounded version of my equation. I'm going to go to second table, and I have an x value of 1050. So when I type it in, my tip could be anywhere from 134 to 135 because of rounding, and we're talking about money here. We're going to follow the same steps on 3. We have number of hours spent for studying for a science exam, which is X, and then final exam grade, which is Y. So I'm going to go back to stat edit, type my table in. I'm going to go stat calc 4, and my variables, scroll, enter. So my equation is y equals 6.1x plus 63.9. And then for the grade expected, we want to know when x is 6. So I'm going to go back to the table, type in 6 for my x, and the grade expected would be about 100. AKA, the more you study, the better your grade. Okay, so problem 4, we are talking the length of the table. The table below shows lengths and corresponding ideal weights of sand sharks. So we have lengths and weights. They want the equation, and they want us to predict. So again, stat edit, we're following the exact same steps, just doing them multiple times. So stat calc 4. To store, we click variables, scroll, enter. So my equation is 4.4x minus 156.1. And then I've stored this in y equals, so I can go to the table and find when x is 75, y would be 170.64. And for the last problem, the table below shows heights and shoe sizes. So I'm going to go back to stat edit because I can't get an equation without it. Stat calc 4. Remember to store, we click variables, enter. So my equation is 0.42x minus 19.81. And then this time in my table, I did store that in y equals. In my table, this time they are asking for the height. Now if I try to type 10.5, it will not let me. So I need to go back to my table settings, and I need to switch this so that my dependent is being asked. So this way, I can type in, nope, that didn't work. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to turn these back onto auto. So when we are looking for a y value, I'm just going to scroll until I get to 10.5. It's going to be a bit of a ways. We're getting closer. Okay, so 10.5 happens somewhere in between 71 to 72 inches.